Hello, hello, hello. It is the NFT Roundtable. I'm talking to Latasha, the
Hey.
amazing. Hey. Latasha is an amazing artist. She raps, performs, does visual art, and is also a community leader in the NFT space. You are essentially one of the first, if not the first, Black female rapper, the first rapper, right, in the NFT space in
The first
general,
woman rapper
the
in the
first
NFT
woman
space.
rapper in the
Yes.
NFT space. So we're gonna talk all about your journey, how you got here, and all the amazing stuff that you're working on. Could you start off by just telling our listeners who you are and what you do?
Sure. Hi, guys. I'm Latasha. I am a all-around artist. I like to call myself a meta-magical creatix. So I create in all kinds of realms, but my heart work is in music and performance. I've been making music for 8 years now and doing visual arts in between that because, you got to figure out the visual with the music always. And always have been a huge just responder to the community and just wanting to support community in all realms. So that's me a bit. I'm sure we'll talk some more about who I am and all that good stuff while we go along.
Awesome. What did you call yourself? Was it a
Meta Magic Creatix. That's
a
what
met
that's what her story is calling me right now.
Meta Magic Creatix? I
Yes.
love it. And so talk about that. Talk about your interdisciplinary approach or multidisciplinary approach to art and like what is your vision for yourself as an artist?
Sure. Well, I've always been into all forms of art. I actually started making art around the age of 14 as a poet. And poetry was really just like my healing tool. I had a boyfriend who passed away when I was 15, and he was into rap and music. And he was the first person who really pushed me to write. And so I started with poetry while I was in high school. And then I left high school, thought I was gonna, go into sociology or something like that, and found myself studying Black history and performance art. And that was like where my heart really found itself. Like, I just was so enthralled with performance, like Martha Graham and all these beautiful just performance artists. That's what I thought I was wanted to do. So I was writing plays in school, and then in my studies I got deep into hip hop. I've always been in love with hip hop. Obviously, I'm from Brooklyn, so hip hop is like a part of Brooklyn, right? Of course. And so I just was so in love with hip hop, still am, and was in love with Kanye West at the time, still sometimes am, um, and was just interested in the Black body and hip hop and the spirit of performance within hip hop. And so I studied all of that. That was my thesis work in college. And then I got out of college and I was like, all right, I'm going to be a journalist and just write about hip hop, I guess, or whatever, and maybe do some plays or whatever. And God just had different plans. God was like, actually, you're going to embody hip hop and become a rapper. And so I became a rapper a few years ago and fell in love.
How does that happen? How do you
Yeah,
go
sure.
from I'm going to do journalism to I'm going to be a rapper?
So people saw my poetry. I started like putting my poetry on YouTube and stuff like that. And one cat, and I was doing like poetry ciphers throughout Brooklyn. And one cat
Mhm.
named Tony Polo, I'll never forget, hit me up and he was like, yo, Latasha, I think you could do a cipher. And I was like, a cipher? I don't know about all that. And he was like, nah,
What's a
come through.
cipher?
Like a cipher is a group or a circle of rappers who come together and just spit. And so I was like, a
Okay.
cipher. I don't know if that's my thing. You've seen them on like BT and stuff like that. They do these ciphers.
Mhm.
And so he was like, just come through. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna just come through. Came through and like was so nervous, but I like spit the hardest, maybe 16 out of the group, and everybody was like, "Yo, like you're a rapper," and I was like, "Nah, no, nah, maybe nah." And then, and then like I just started hanging out with more of the like rapper community in Brooklyn at the time. Shout out to Science and all of
Mhm.
them, and
Mhm. When
like
y'all
started
spit
making
at
music.
ciphers, is it purely freestyle, or is it a mixture of like pre-written stuff? Like I've never fully understood how y'all like the
Yeah.
flow is just so perfect.
So I'm not a freestyler. I won't lie to y'all. That's not my life. I've
Okay.
always been a writer.
Okay.
So I come through premeditated most of the time. And if a
Mhm.
hater rapper is out there hating on me right now, I understand. It's all good. I do not want to lie about it because I feel like
Mhm.
freestyle was just not a practice that I took on. I always am really really about my words. I feel like word
Mhm.
is bond, and I never want to come through with the wrong words. And
Mhm.
so sometimes I do the freestyle thing for play, but it's never like full force freestyle. I'm always really about
Mhm.
having what I want to say down packed.
Mhm.
But I'm not like Drake, and I don't read off my phone at a cipher. Like I'll
Right.
really, I'll really memorize it.
Way to throw shots.
No shots. Love Drake. Drake knows I love him. Love Drake, but I just don't. I'm really about the
Yeah.
performance. So like I memorize my stuff. I know how I want to perform it. Like that's about like my world. So yeah, I usually
Yeah.
do that when I come into ciphers. So yeah, I started doing the cipher thing, and then from the cipher thing, started making mixtapes. My first mixtape was this mixtape called The Presentation, where I rapped off of a bunch of Kanye West beats. And then I did
Mhm.
a mini movie to go with it. And it's somewhere
Mhm.
on the internet. You could find it. I'm not going to send it to anybody because it's when I was really young. So I did a mini movie. And that went like mini viral. And
And this is post college,
this is
so
post college.
like 22, 23.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And so did this mini movie and started getting calls to open for people. So I opened for Kanye West, I opened for Q-Tip, I opened for Big Sean. And before I knew it, I was just on this journey. and
Mhm.
and just fell in love with it. And
Mhm.
also found a lot of challenges in it. So
Mhm.
that's my journey in the beginning.
What was it like starting to open for these big artists, and what was kind of like what was going through your mind at that time?
It was insane because I was listening to these artists like every day. Like these are the artists that in college I would wear my door knocker earrings and have my headphones in and walk down the like, the strip to Kanye's graduation and Big Sean's project. And so I was like, wow, maybe I manifested this and didn't even know like I was manifesting this. And
Mhm.
so it was really a trip. It was just like, what is happening? Which lets me know that I always had like manifesting powers, and I always felt like
Mhm.
artists are manifestors. So
Mhm.
that's why I always call myself a meta magic person as well, because I feel like the metaverse and all of this energy work is manifesting things for us. And so yeah, it was just a trip. It was like, what? I didn't even know, but I always killed the show. I always was like somebody who was like, everybody wanted to know who I was after the show and what it was I doing and things of that
Mhm.
nature. So that was always blessed.
So you're in your early 20s, like post college, early 20s, starting to take off in the rap scene, getting different opportunities. And you mentioned that you faced a number of challenges as well. Can you share what some of those were?
Sure. So at the time, there was like no female rappers except for Nicki Minaj, who I adore. I think she's brilliant. But at the time, I was also not in love with Nicki because I felt like she was pushing this Barbie agenda. And
Mm-hmm.
I already had my qualms with Barbie and like women not being able to be in their natural states. That was my issue back then, and still sometimes is, but not always. So Nicki was the only rapper out, and I started pushing my music, and people started really hating me. I was getting a lot of messages on like just Twitter and all of that, like just hate mail, all kinds of things, really mean things.
Wow.
Yeah,
These
and then
are these black people, like,
I don't know.
or
They
just
were
like
all over,
random,
all
like
random kind of people.
all random?
Yeah, and
Was your
so
audience, what was your audience at the time?
oh, mostly like women and black people, for the
Okay.
most part, and like from New York and the
Mm-hmm.
East Coast. So
Wow.
yeah, so it was hard because you're just starting out and then you get all this hate and you're just like, I'm just starting this thing that I found out I love. I don't want like all this hate, but
Yeah, and you're
that's
not hurting anyone either. You're just
exactly.
being
I'm just
yourself and doing what you love, performing.
exactly.
That's so wild.
Yeah, so it was really wild and it took me aback. I started like trying to think more about what energy I was attracting
Hmm.
and started studying metaphysics in that time when I felt like maybe I'm attracting an energy that I don't want to attract. And so
Hmm.
what do I need to change within myself? And along with that, I was getting hit up by labels and labels were interested in me, but they were really interested in reshaping me and reforming
Hmm.
me when I didn't even know who I was yet as an artist.
Hmm.
So I was dealing with people like giving me diet pills and,
Hmm.
people telling me like I couldn't be this kind of rapper. I needed to be sexy or sell sex or, I just couldn't figure myself out in the time.
Hmm.
And so I went through some really hard times. I lost a lot of friends in the process. I hated a lot of people in the process, and found myself alone a lot. And I almost like committed suicide at one point because I just was so caught up in this like mind that wasn't mine, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
And then I really tapped into metaphysical work and spiritual work. And that's when I kind of realized I wanted to recreate myself and re understand myself. And yeah, and that was like what happened.
Hmm. So walk me through what happens next. Like you go through
Mm-hmm.
this work, you go through this kind of like shedding, I guess, of your
Mm-hmm.
old self,
Yes.
and then what comes next? Because I'm guessing
So
this is the rest is like leading up to
where we're at
now,
now.
right?
Yes, exactly. So another huge challenge I was facing was like family. Like my family didn't understand me wanting to be an artist and, me wanting to be full time in music. And
Mhm.
so like a lot of artists deal with just family trauma at that point,
Mhm.
and so I was living with my mother at the time and it
Mhm.
wasn't like the best relationship at the time. And
Mhm.
so I was like locking myself in my room and studying metaphysics. And
Mhm.
oh, look at the cutie star. And so one of the tasks that I took on within my studies was using my word to create my new reality.
Mhm.
So I would write in my journal like what I wanted to see for myself. And I would write every day things that I needed. Like I would write, I didn't say I want, I said, I am going to have an angel donor who gives me this amount of money so that I can move out of the crib and live in a house with Christmas lights. And
Mhm.
I want to be surrounded by musicians in my new crib and women in my new crib and be inspired to create and feel like I can do this full time and constantly have abundance coming in. And I was just writing these things every day for months. I mean,
Mhm.
I would wake up in the morning and it was the first thing I was writing. And then I would figure out how to like navigate life. So I was like
Mhm.
temping, doing all types of stuff. Still making music, but not as much because I just didn't have the abundance to do it. And also was in just a really difficult relationship at that time, but still just pushing this like I'm going to change my life. Like it was
Mhm.
just I knew it, I was going to do it. And then one day a woman came into my life and she heard my song Black Magic and she just fell in love with the record and she was just so like confused as to why I wasn't a bigger artist yet. And she gave me $10,000 and she wanted me to move out of my crib
Mhm.
and start over. And
Mhm.
so every time I tell the story, I want to start tearing up. But, I called one of my homegirls, or I was on Facebook and I wrote, I need to find a new place to stay. And
Mhm.
one of my homegirls hit me from elementary school and was like, yo, we're looking for a roommate and she makes music And all the roommates made music. So I was like, oh my God, like everything I was writing down is coming true.
Mm-hmm.
So moved in with them, and the house ended up having Christmas lights everywhere, and it was filled
Mm-hmm.
with musicians. And that was at the point when I started full time independent as an artist. And
Okay.
so found my partner Jamel Reynolds at that time, and we started like working together on visuals. We weren't even partners yet; we were just friends.
Mm-hmm. And
And
Jamel is a what kind of artist is he
he's a
again?
3D, he's a 2D, 3D, and filmmaker
Mm-hmm.
artist. So he
Okay.
directs and does all kinds of amazing things.
Yeah,
And
that's a
he's,
lot. That's a lot in one package. I
I
imagine
know.
that's like very, very useful.
I mean, we're both a lot in one package, so it kind of works out.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, so Jamel came into my life, and then I started also doing graphic design at that time to pay bills. So I was making art in there, and then Jamel and I really got close, and we ended up becoming, in a relationship and partners. And then we realized, like, oh, we don't want to be in New York no more. We need space. We need expansion. And so we moved to LA 2 years ago. And then NFT started with the pandemic and all the drama. And so Jamel was actually the first person who put me on to NFT. He was like, babe, like I'm making money off of my art online. And I was like, what are you talking about? What about your copyright? What about all this stuff? And, I started studying NFT, and I was like, this is it. This is how I'm going to really make this independent life happen for me. And ever since then, I've just been wanting to create the new blueprint, or be the new blueprint for musicians within music and NFT.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's me. That was a lot, but that was me.
Yeah, it's a lot, but it's super, super fascinating. You have such a great story. There's
Thank
so much
you.
depth to it, and I wanted to ask about making money as an artist, because I
Mm-hmm.
know from working with artists, um, it is I feel like there's a lot of emotions tied into the money
I
that
start.
you make. Like, it's an
Yeah.
emotional process, and it's not always consistent, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, you may tie like your feelings about yourself to like how much something sells for, how much you earn for a project, right?
Right,
So
right, right.
and you went from earning revenue as an artist in some ways to earning revenue as an artist through
And
NFTs. So
right.
I'm just curious, like, what are some of the like what is your relationship
With money.
with money? Yeah,
Ooh,
as an
that's such a good
artist.
question. My relationship in the beginning was definitely a trial and error relationship. As an artist, I didn't know my value in the beginning. Like, I started rap and I didn't know you could get paid for it without a label. Like, I just thought,
Mhm.
I'm going to rap my way into a label. And
Mhm.
then when I started really getting into performance, people started, saying, "What's your fee for performing?" And I was like,
Mhm.
"Oh, snap, I could make
You
money
could
off of my
charge.
performance." And like that was really early in the beginning. And I remember getting
Mhm.
my first big check from a performance and being like, "It's a wrap. Like, this is it,
Mhm.
right?" And that
Mhm.
was like a $2,000 check. I was like super hype about
Mhm.
that, but it was like everything.
Was
And
that like
so
one? Well, was that a full show
yeah,
or
that
like
was
just
one
a guest?
show. Yeah, it was one
Mhm.
college show. And I was hype.
Okay.
And I was like, oh man, like this is it. Like, I just got to tour
Mhm.
and keep making my music. And then I just realized there were so many other channels. Like, I could do branding work. I could get into sync, which is like putting your music on TV and shows and commercials. I could do
Mhm.
voiceover work. And then what started to happen is my relationship with money started to expand. It wasn't about just one way of making money. It became, I'm going to make money in different channels of being an
Mhm.
artist, right? And so
Mhm.
I also got into visual work. So I was doing graphic design, and all this other stuff was making me money. And I always
Mhm.
kind of seen money in this kind of flow state, like it's in a wave. And sometimes you're going to have these low tides where you're like, oh, where's my bread? But you got
Mhm.
to know how to navigate those moments. So oftentimes I'm like saving so I know when those low tides hit, I'm not like struggling or
Right.
dealing with the drama. But
Right.
being in that wave and kind of surfing, like I like to say, has really just helped me figure out money. And I just always kind of look at money as a natural thing that is a part of our lives and supportive. And a lot of times people have this kind of idea that money is negative or money is bad. And when I learned to take those ideas out of my mind, more abundance started coming into my life. I feel money is the tool, it's the
Mhm.
tool to make more things. And so as a
Mhm.
creative, you gotta have money. You gotta just figure out this relationship with you and money. And so I'm still navigating it all the time, especially as my abundance starts to rise more.
Mhm.
Um, but now it's not so much of like a survival mode. Now it's like, how can I thrive and how can I continue to do the things that I love to do without, worrying about money.
Mhm.
So that's where I am with money.
That's awesome. I love I love the fact that you learned really early on that you could earn through different avenues. I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of artists, especially in music, think that you have to be like really famous and like take the kind of like very very public performer type approach in order to be successful or like
Mm-hmm.
make a decent income as an artist. And people are realizing there's so many other options.
Yeah, definitely.
I found a podcast last year that I fell in love with, and the host is a musician. He writes music and he plays the guitar, he makes his own songs, and he just decided to start a podcast where he would like make a song based on the topic.
Nice.
And he did this series on Enneagrams. I don't know if you're familiar with Enneagrams.
Mm-mm.
It's a personality it's like a personality system. So there's
Mm.
9 personality types,
Oh,
or
dope.
9 enneagrams, and it's my favorite personality test out of all the ones that I've found so far. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so he would like sit down and like learn the different elements of the personality and then write this whole song
Oh,
and
that's
perform it
fire.
on the podcast. And I remember when I listened to the song for my personality type, I cried. I
Oh,
literally cried. I
wow.
was like,
Wow.
"Oh my god, this is so powerful and overwhelming." Like I feel like he's talking to me,
Oh
about
my
me,
gosh.
and
You
it
have to
was
send me
such a
that.
beautiful experience. I'm gonna send it to you. And his podcast apparently has done really well. Like he's like he's eating very comfortably
That's so
off
great.
of his,
After the thing he loves to
off his
do.
podcast. So yeah, so it's just, sometimes it's thinking outside the box and just, having an
It's
abundance
definitely,
mindset, which just seems like you have.
yeah. No, it's definitely thinking out of the box. It's definitely about just constantly reprogramming your mind on what you want to create in the world. And just, I always say, like, I'm just one upping myself every time, Like, I pay
Mhm.
attention to the things that I'm into and like what I like, and then I'm like, how do I make this bread off of the thing that I like to do? Um,
Mhm.
And, sometimes some people are like, oh, that's putting your energy in a lot of places. But honestly, we're in a different time now, Musicians can't just do one thing. You have to be able to
Mhm.
do many things to like really, advance without somebody owning
Mhm.
everything that you create. So I've
Right.
been big on that.
Right. I want to go into NFTs a little bit more, but before we go like super into NFTs, I wanted to ask you, when it comes to the music industry, do you feel like things have changed in the last 10 years or so, or since you had those like really negative experiences,
Mm-hmm.
and do you feel like the music industry has changed, and what do you think it will take for the industry to become more open and like appreciative of the different kinds of talented Black women
Yeah.
that the world is like not embracing yet.
So I think my experiences were more challenging than negative. That's like for sure. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
all those experiences taught me so much, and they were the lessons I needed to get to this place that I'm at right now. As for the music industry, I feel like the music industry has definitely evolved since I started and from here. When I first started,
Mm-hmm.
streaming was just starting. So that was like a
Mm-hmm.
whole world that shifted everything for musicians, and also just understandings of money at that time. Because when I first started, it was mixtapes. Like people were selling mixtapes
Mm-hmm.
off that piff, and that was how you were making your bread, or you was like doing the label thing. So
Mm-hmm.
streaming really transformed things, where now more nuanced audiences meet their niche artists now. So that's
Mm-hmm.
really amazing, and I commend that about streaming, because a lot more
Mm-hmm.
artists are out here now, and you get to like hear different things. The problem
Mm-hmm.
now is that we have a lot of gatekeepers that don't allow different things to be at the forefront, right? And now
Mm-hmm.
that has kind of always been an issue within the music industry, but now it's even more so, because you got playlist gatekeepers, you got label gatekeepers, you got gatekeepers on all streams, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that has been probably the most problematic part. But what I'm
Mm-hmm.
excited about is like the new women that are coming to the forefront right now. Although a lot of the women still have like similar like contexts with like sexuality being at the face of what they're doing, which I feel is very important
Mm-hmm.
still. I
Mm-hmm.
think there needs to be just more balance. I want to see a
Mm-hmm.
girl like me be in the front too, just with a
Mm-hmm.
Megan the Stallion or a Sweetie, because people need to see both. People need to see that women are multidimensional and multi-spectrum, and we come from all types of worlds and walks. And that is what's exciting me, that I know that time is coming, especially now that
Mm-hmm.
NFT is here. I feel like that time is about to like really hit us like no other time. um
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's just, I what I'm seeing right now is like more of the woman's mind is coming to the forefront. Like
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Megan even is a great example of like how her mind is working, and she's like approaching her work with like stocks, and talking about like how to do stocks and how to like get
Mm-hmm.
into different like businesses. And Sweetie's the TikTok woman, and she's embracing this performative self. Those are
Mm-hmm.
the parts that excite me, because now we're stepping into this nuance. We're gonna see women be different, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm hyped for that, because that was what I've been pushing forever. Just
Mm-hmm.
seeing women as different as possible, and in all spectrums. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what the music industry got to get ready for. And I think they're paying attention to that, because they're seeing how well women are selling. But they need to continue to do that, and
Mm-hmm.
continue to be open to that. And if they're not, they're going to fall apart real soon, because we're in a divine feminine space right now. This is where we're
Right.
going. That's the
And
era that's
Latasha's
hitting.
coming.
I'm right here.
Latasha's coming.
Yeah, no, I
They
just
gotta get
feel
ready for
they
you.
got to get ready. So, yeah, oftentimes I feel like artists deal with this like, I want my turn, like put me in the spotlight
Mm-hmm.
right now. But I always tell artists, you're perfectly on time, because if the
Mm-hmm.
world's not ready for you, you're going to hit a peak way too fast, and you're going to fall apart. So, like, just pay attention to how the world is working, and know that the wave is coming for you. And I'm excited, because I know the wave is coming. Like, I mean, it's already here. Like, it's right here. So let's just do this
Right.
thing.
I love that. So when it comes to your NFTs, my favorite piece is Macdiverse.
I love Maxiverse too.
Um, yes, I love that piece. I love I love your flow. I love the fact that so much of it is centered on your face and your upper body,
Thank
which I
you.
think shows how good of a performer you are because it's so there isn't a whole lot else going on, but it's
Mm-hmm.
so captivating. I've replayed that video like so many times.
Thank you, love.
I just love it. The facial expressions, like just so on point. The hair slicked back. So, what was the creative process for for that specific project?
Sure. So, honestly, I the song was a song I did with my homie Witch Prophet from Canada, who's an amazing, brilliant singer songwriter, also very meta magic woman from Toronto. And she sent me this beat one night, and she was like, "I need you on this record." And she was like, "I need it for the remix." And when I heard the record, I was like, "I already know what I want to say." Like it literally poured out of me. Like I just had it. And so
Mm-hmm.
I wrote the song in 15 minutes, like the verse in 15 minutes, maybe less than. Recorded it and wrote it in 15 minutes. Sent it back. She was like, "I love it. It's done. That's it." Then I was like working with Jamel because we just green screened the garage, right? And we were like, "Oh, we want to just make things and see." And so Jamel was like, "I just want to test some stuff out. Like, I don't need to make anything crazy." But you know me, I want to always make the crazy things. So I was like, I got dressed. I was like, I'm going to slick back my hair. I'm about to get fresh and we going to make this epic.
Mm-hmm.
So I studied the Mactiverse a million times that day. And then Jamel set up the lights and everything in the garage. And then we shot. And it was literally supposed to just be for
Mm-hmm.
play. And we were just like playing around
Mm-hmm.
with shit. And he was like, "Okay, this is it." And then we worked on like what the background was gonna be, what the form was gonna be, and Jamel edited most of it, and I did the performance obviously. And then we were like, "Yo, this is fire!" So we first put this on Instagram, and it did really well on Instagram. But then like months later, NFT came to us, and we were like, "Yo, this is supposed to be an NFT. This is actually what this is supposed to be."
Mm.
And so when
Yeah.
we put it on NFT, that went crazy. Like I think it's like one of the
Mm-hmm.
first music video esque NFTs, um,
Yeah.
and was the first time people seen me like flow like this on NFT, and
Mm-hmm.
they were so hype. I remember there was like a
Mm-hmm.
crazy bidding war going on that day for it. It was like nuts. It was like the first time we had an insane, like all the whales were bidding against this thing. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, wow, this was something that we were just like playing around with, and look
Mm-hmm.
at what happens, you know? So that was
Yeah.
Mactiverse. I love that piece too.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah. I love that y'all uh followed through on this whim to like just make something. And
Hmm.
I'm wondering how often y'all do that because it wasn't a part of like some big project, you know? It was
Right.
just like a let's play around. So how often do y'all do that?
Right now, not often because we're so busy. But when we have free time, we're always like doing something. Like I'm always like, let's
Mm-hmm.
take some pictures. Let's go, outside and just film some stuff. I have a little camcorder that I run
Yeah.
around with, and I like that. I
Okay.
think that's where the best stuff comes out, to be honest, because you're just doing it from your heart center and you just want to play.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So, what's your vision for mixing music and NFTs?
My vision is that NFTs will literally reconstruct the music industry. I really believe that now that the tables are turning towards artists, musicians are going to also be on that table. And what's going to
Mm-hmm.
happen is the music industry is now going to have to bring more of the abundance towards musicians versus themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because
Mm-hmm.
now we're seeing musicians have the real rites of passage through this whole thing, right? Like the art is what really is supposed to be getting the abundance, and that's what was supposed to be happening for years now. And so I'm just excited because now the labels are going to have to reconstruct the deals so that it fits with NFT. Artists are probably going to choose more so on this ride instead of going the label route. which labels are going to be scared of because the less artists they have, you know, the less they can do. So artists are going to also be able to, well, musicians will also have more say in what their music is and what they want to create. I really feel like a lot of musicians pocket themselves into what the labels are asking for. And now we're going to get better quality music because artists are actually making revenue that they could reinvest into their music and then put onto streaming. And then whatever pops on streaming, they can reinvest into NFT. And that's the cycle, right? Like they'll just keep reinvesting in themselves and become their own ecosystems. It's going to be a gradual process, but I'm here for it and I'm at the front of it. And whatever I could do for artists, especially musicians, to get in it, I'm here to do. Because I just really believe that musicians deserve way more than what they get. Artists all over deserve way more than they get. But musicians, especially because I feel like because of the streaming service, music has played the background instead of being this important energy form that shifts bodies, shifts minds, shifts everything. I feel like when I was a kid, music was like such an ingrained part of us. Like if you didn't have your Discman or a CD or, you know, something on you, you was messed up for the whole day. Like, you know what I mean? And at least from Brooklyn, like if I didn't have my iPod on me, I was not in a centered place. And music really allows centering, allows healing, allows transformation. And of course, visual does that too. But I feel like music and visual,
Yeah.
it's over. You know,
Yeah.
it's high sensory and it's transformative. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, music is something you can take with you anywhere.
Exactly.
And it's kind of like it's a lot more. I feel like it's a bit more all encompassing.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Because you can be sleeping, you can be walking, you can be running, you can be in a swimming pool. Like it doesn't matter. You could be anywhere and take in music. Did you see that? Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and just music brings memory. You know, it brings this like memory of where you were at that time when that song happened, and it just, yeah, it's the story in it, you know. I just adore music so much, obviously, but
yeah. Did you see that Jay-Z had mentioned that he was thinking about incorporating NFTs into Tidal? I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I did.
What do you think about that?
I think that's important and interesting. But I want Jay-Z to meet more of the community so he could know how to do it the right way. I feel like right now he's working with like the heads of companies and stuff, which is great. But when Jay-Z starts connecting with us, it's going to transform his whole understanding of what NFT can do on the long run. You know, right now cats are just hitting up Jay-Z for the money, but watch when he sees artists like us, you know, he's going to be like, oh my God, that's what I wanted to do when I was, you know, that age, you know? And so I feel like that's going to really transform his mind. But I'm hyped. I feel like Tidal needs that. And the fact that Twitter and Tidal are working together now, that's coming up soon. That's going to really shift that too, you know? I feel like more visual artists and musicians are going to find ways to work together.
To collab. So one of the interesting issues that I've been facing, I'm curious what you think about this, is, you know, I've worked on projects where I will like place an artist, usually a visual artist, onto some sort of NFT project. And sometimes the client is a public figure. So let's say an athlete, musician, something like that. And I found that particularly with athletes and musicians, they come into the NFT project feeling like the artist, the visual artist, is just kind of
on service.
Yeah, like they're just like they should have the majority of ownership. They're like, I want
Yeah.
90%, you know, and like the artist can get a little something or like pay him something up front and then that's it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like this fight to be like, hey, like first of all, you can't create this NFT without the visual artist, right?
Exactly.
So you need each other.
Mm-hmm.
This artist is just as important. Their art is just as valid,
Right.
and you're basically doing the same thing that
Mm-hmm.
you complain about the leagues doing or the labels doing, etc. And
Exactly.
so I feel like NFTs are an interesting opportunity to have this like broader conversation about how artists are treated in general and how sometimes artists treat each other and how like bigger, more powerful artists treat smaller artists, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm wondering if you've seen stuff like this in the space, or if you could see stuff like this coming, and like what do you think are some of the things that we have to do, like just as an NFT community and like artists in the community, to kind of prepare
For
for this,
that.
because it's only going to, as more people come into the NFT space, it's only going to get probably more common.
Yeah. I feel like I feel a few things with it. I feel like one, we have to nip it in the bud now. And how we will do that is through community. I feel like if we've seen like big artists come into this NFT space and not do well because they did not
Mm-hmm.
have the community with them. And if you don't have the NFT community behind you, that's it. Like the person who has the most NFT community should be the breadwinner of whatever collaboration is going on. That's how I view it,
Mm-hmm.
because they're the ones, the community is going to push the art, is going to buy the art, is going to secondary market the art. Like we're the ones
Mm-hmm.
who understand how this market works, not so much the majors, right? So I feel like community, if we continue to stick together and continue to like push for each other and build with each other and work one on one with each other, that's how this is gonna, we're gonna become the next stars, truly.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not too concerned about like majors coming in. I'm excited for it. I'm like, work, come through. But don't come
Yeah.
through thinking that you're gonna run things. Like we've been in
Right.
here running things and working things and figuring this thing out. And I've witnessed it. I've seen like some major artists come in and not do very well, and then I've seen some who do very well because they've connected with community and they understand that that's important. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that. I feel like we have to just keep pushing each other to become the next stars of NFT,
Mm-hmm.
and which will in turn become the next stars beyond. But right now, I'm not here for the collaboration. If you go and try to take all my bread, like I'm
Right.
sorry,
Right. Right.
it's not happening. It's not happening.
Yeah.
Just because we're doing so well already, how dare you try to come here and conflict with that? Like
Mm-hmm.
we're doing what we're supposed to do right now.
I feel you on that. Well,
Yeah,
before we wrap up, I'm going to ask one last question,
sure.
which is one of my favorite questions, um, especially for a woman like you who are just doing so much and accomplishing so much, right? What keeps you going? What keeps you getting up every day and just continuing to push forward?
So, what keeps me going is the past, the present, and the future. My mother is my past, and I often feel as though I'm an evolutionary version of her. And I want to be her eyes. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
want her to see me win
Mm-hmm.
so that she feels like she's winning as well in life. Um, then my
Mm-hmm.
present, like being within this community, being a leader in it, being, someone that people are inspired by, keeps me going because I want to continue to just show people that they could do whatever they want in life. That is like a part of my heart work. And also, it's a part of like showing people that every day you could become your best self. So just continue to do that. And so that's another part. And then my future, because I want my little babies to see, their mommy be like the best thing ever. I want them to be like, my mom is lit. My mom is the NFT, Jay-Z, Beyonce, like I want my kids to get there. I don't have any kids right now, but when I do have kids, I want them to feel like legacy. I want them to know that they have a huge legacy with them. And yeah, that's what keeps me going.
Nice. Well, I know we've had a number of conversations, but every
Yes.
time we talk, I get to learn more about you, and it's always so
Aw,
cool.
thank
I'm
you,
a huge
Iris.
fan. I'm
Thank
fangirling
you.
all the time. I send
Thank
you to
you.
all my friends. I'll be like, yo, you gotta see this video.
I appreciate you. No,
I
that means a lot.
promise. Yeah. As you start to meet probably more of my friends like throughout the years, like
Hmm.
you're gonna it's gonna come out. You'll see how much I've been showing you off to everybody. But thank you for joining us.
Thank
And thank
you.
you to all of our listeners. You can tune in every week to the NFT Roundtable. Not every week. We don't post every week. We post whenever we want to. And we take
Exactly.
time off whenever we want to. We're just going with the
Exactly.
flow.
That's right. Go with that
So I
flow.
need to take that line out of the script. But yeah, you can tune in whenever we're around. And you can learn more at blacknft.co/NFT-roundtable-podcast. And you can follow us on Instagram at NFT Roundtable, just one word, NFT Roundtable. And yeah, thank you again for joining
Thank
us,
you. I
Latasha.
appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. This was beautiful. And I'll talk to you guys soon.